We've got some really interesting news to go over when it comes to Atlas and Persona 6, potentially for the Nintendo Switch 2, Persona 4 Revival. What is happening? Because they are asking people questions when it comes to Persona 3 Reload, specifically people who purchased it on the Nintendo Switch 2. And I want to get into everything that this means in addition to a bunch of other content. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, in addition to Pokemon Legends ZA, some other big news with that, and of course Xbox and Nintendo Switch 2. So this is a packed video that we're going to go over. Let's just start with the big one that I know a lot of you guys want to talk about, I want to discuss too, and that is Persona on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think the writing is on the wall at this point, especially after you see those massive Nintendo Switch 2 sales in Japan. You're seeing the system be the best-selling system in the US as well, so it's doing pretty good in the first number of months, and I know Atlas does not want to miss out on that. So this was interesting to see. So Atlas did poll the people who purchased Persona 3 Reload on what they want to see next when it comes to the Persona franchise. Here were the four options: Persona 6, Persona 4 Revival, potential remake or remaster of Persona 1, and potential remake or remaster of Persona 2, Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment. Because I'm pretty sure this is the first time that Atlas has even mentioned Persona 6, or it's one of the very few times if they have talked about it. And even more interesting when it comes to it is that it's after the release of Persona 3 Reload, and as if you purchased a copy of Persona 3 Reload on the Nintendo Switch 2. So they are targeting Nintendo Switch 2 users with this Atlas survey. And listen, I know some people don't like Atlas surveys because they feel that Atlas does nothing, but the only reason why we got Persona 3 Reload was because people really requested it in a Atlas survey. So I do feel that they do eventually get around to that. There were strong ties to people saying that they want Persona on multi-platform, and that obviously happened as well. Obviously people wanted it on Nintendo hardware, and that's happened too when it comes to Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5 Royal. So that's awesome to see. But this is interesting because Persona 6, Persona 4 Revival, these are two games that, one of them with Persona 4 Revival, that's not been confirmed for Nintendo hardware. That's just Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. But it's coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. There's no way Persona 4 Revival doesn't make its way to the Switch 2. That game is 2027, so we still have a bit of time before we play that game. I'm guessing it's going to be an early 2027 release for that game, so we still have a little bit. So expect them to get caught up when it comes to the development kits and everything, and get a version of Persona 4 Revival out on the Nintendo Switch 2 by then. And I would say you would have to have a version by then, because in Japan the Switch 2 is going to be at multiple millions when it comes down to it. So you're going to have a Switch 2 version ready. Now when it comes to Persona 6, this is the big one. They haven't officially revealed it or confirmed everything with it, but it's on here. We all know it's in development. It's been in development for quite some time. They're working on making it perfect, and they're probably working on milking it for the next 15 years, like they milked Persona 5. Oh my goodness, man. They had Persona 5 everything. We got multiple spin-offs, we got dancing games, we got strategy games, we got action RPGs, we got all sorts of stuff. We got a mobile game that was like a gacha mobile game. I mean, there was just so much stuff with Persona 5. So many collaborations, so many different crossovers, so many different things. Heck, there was even Joker in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So I would expect that they're taking the utmost time and care to craft this thing for the long haul, probably for like the next decade overall. So that's what I'm expecting is going on. Plus, they have a lot going with Persona 4 Revival. They just got Persona 3 Reload done, which they were trying to rush out the door on the Nintendo Switch 2, which led to them having some frame rate issues with the game that they'll patch over time. But that's the thing with this. They're definitely involved with the Nintendo Switch 2. Persona 6 is probably going to be revealed sometime next year. I can see it coming at an Xbox event. Maybe they have a marketing deal with them like we saw with Persona 3, 4, and 5. I think even a little bit with Persona 4 Revival. So I do think that that's going to be something that's going to be announced next year, and I think that it will come over to the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that Nintendo might announce it at a direct, because sometimes we get the announcements separate when it comes to Atlas titles, especially Persona. They're never really announced first at a Nintendo event, but I'm guessing that they're going to be announced like they were with Persona 3, Persona 4, and Persona 5 back in 2022 when those all came over, or when they were announced at that Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. So this is actually exciting now that we're finally making some movement. They finally got the last wheel out of Persona 3 Reload, and they can finally focus on, when it comes to Persona, on the next things, which is Persona 4 Revival and Persona 6. So I'm pretty sure everyone is either voting for Persona 6 or Persona 4 Revival, because Persona 1 and 2 Remake, although those are good, it's just something that I think people might want to put on the back burner. People want to see Persona 4 and Persona 6 come out. So very good, and it looks like Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be involved from the beginning here. So what do you guys think about this information when it comes to Persona 6 and Atlas with the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section below. But before we get into the next topics, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. Okay, let's talk about Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I recently got a chance to play the demo that's available at Best Buy, some Targets, some Walmarts. It just depends on your demo unit. I didn't have it at my Target, but some people say it's at Target. I actually played it at Best Buy. I was able to capture a little bit of footage because there is a time limit on there. And from what I played, get ready, boys and girls, this is fantastic. I think I used Minoru. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly, but I used her in the game. I used Princess Zelda in the game. I used Rauru a little bit in the game. And the lighting, I was playing portable mode with a Pro controller. I played a little bit in handheld mode as well because there was 2 demo units at my Best Buy, and I had a blast. It is smooth. It looks fantastic on the Nintendo Switch 2 screen. And you guys know some of those demo units, they got fingerprint smudges all over them. It's not the best overall in terms of the maintenance of them. I tried to clean it up the best that I could, but it looked great. The lighting looked good. You were underneath in the depths. I felt that it was smooth. The combos felt fun to pull off. It's typical Warriors gameplay, so you're going to have your common combos that you use: light strike, light strikes to heavy strikes, or light strike to heavy strike times 2, or 4 times light strike, then some heavy strikes. So it's pretty much the typical stuff there, but it's kind of how the combos kind of come together and how different the characters feel to play. I thought that was great. There's some really fun characters that have some crazy stuff, crazy concepts in terms of some of the tools that you can use, in addition to being able to do sync strikes, which are a lot of fun. Once you build up enough of your meter, you can do like a double team attack that's going to wipe out the whole screen, which is awesome, kind of a staple of the Warriors games. And on top of that, you can switch characters on the fly, which is also great. They've had that in a number of Warriors games, but seeing it kind of all wrapped into this Legend of Zelda shell, the characters, the voice acting, and the graphics all being incredibly smooth is very happy to see, especially coming from Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which ran terrible on the Nintendo Switch 1, and this one ran at a locked 60 FPS. I didn't see any frame rate dips. There might be some once you get into some bigger areas, because it was a pretty small area that I was playing in, so there might be something outside of that, but it's a target 60. It runs smooth, it plays smooth, it feels responsive, it feels different based on what character you're playing as. Zelda has some pretty heavy light sword strikes and everything. King Rauru has some heavy bashing strikes, like with this spear and all of that, so it's a great game. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to review well. I think that if you're looking at Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and how that reviewed, considering how strong the combat system was, despite it running like that, this should review a number of points higher than that if they can nail the story, which some people feel that the story wasn't nailed when it comes to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I thought it was okay, but I understand some of the issues that people had. But if they get this right and get the ending right and get the story put together when it comes down to it, this could be the best Warriors game. And I think it can be one of the better reviewing and better selling ones over time, because the best selling Warriors game is Age of Calamity at 4 million units plus, but that's old data overall. So I do think that this one over time could do really well as the Nintendo Switch 2 grows in install base. So what do you guys think about Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment? Check out the demo if you haven't already got a chance to check it out. If you can go to Target, Walmart, or Best Buy, or anywhere that there's a demo unit when it comes down to it. I had a lot of fun, so see if you can try it out. But the game is dropping on November 6th, so it's going to be here next week as of the time that I'm recording this video on Thursday. So what do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. But now we are going to move over to Pokemon Legends ZA. We've got some more information about how this game performed. So we did hear that there was a drop in performance in Europe overall between Pokemon Legends ZA compared to a lot of the other Switch 1 Pokemon games. However, there was a pretty massive launch here in the US, according to Matt Piscatella of Circana Data. He says that Pokemon Legends ZA had a massive US launch at retail. Launch week physical unit and dollar sales of Pokemon Legends ZA were the biggest for a new physical video game launch since The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom back in May 2023. So let's get a couple things out of the way first. Even with the UK, those sales were physical only, not digital. There has been a much bigger uptick in digital sales, plus a bigger install base since the previous Pokemon games came out, so you do have to kind of factor that in quite a bit. But here in the US, seeing that there is a big launch like this, the biggest since Tears of the Kingdom, there's been a lot of good games since Tears of the Kingdom, and the fact that Pokemon Legends ZA had the biggest physical unit launch compared to all the other games, it's not just Nintendo games, any other game, that's absolutely impressive. And once again, all of this before the crucial holiday season, when most of the time you're going to see Pokemon games sell upward of another million plus or so just in that holiday. November, December are huge for Pokemon games. Go back and track it. They all did great as the holiday November and all of that dragged on, being number one usually in the Japanese sales each week, even after big launches. So I fully expect Pokemon Legends ZA to have consistent good months leading all the way through the end of December overall. And while yes, it's going to naturally slow down, of course, just like any game, I think it's going to sell steady all the way up until Pokemon Gen 10 launches, and even a little bit after that, because I think the game has a very different proposition compared to the typical turn-based Pokemon game. But yeah, any type of talk about this game not doing well or it's one of the worst overall, I think that's just complete nonsense now that you're actually seeing what's happening here. And once again, we do have sales in Japan. We have the numbers when it comes to how it boosted the console sales to 201,000 units in Japan. That is the biggest uptick of console sale increase for any Pokemon game in the Switch 1 and now Switch 2 era, bigger than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Not bigger sales units, but just more units that they sold for that week that it launched. So to me, that's very impressive, and I'm pretty sure Nintendo is stockpiling for the holiday because there's going to be a ton of people who want Pokemon Legends ZA, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Mario Kart World, and the Nintendo Switch 2, especially in Japan, where they've been supply strapped overall. So I'm pretty sure it's stockpiling, and we should see some pretty crazy numbers overall for the Nintendo Switch 2 coming up here in Japan, and I think it's going to be pretty good worldwide as well. So what do you guys think about Pokemon Legends ZA having a massive US retail launch, in addition to it being a bit underperforming over there in Europe? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's go ahead and move on to this final topic here. We're going to talk about Xbox and its commitment to the Nintendo Switch 2. Some people are wondering what is happening. They just got Halo announced, the remake again of Halo, and it's coming, but just the single player campaign with multiplayer co-op, no multiplayer, at least not at first. Maybe they'll do it later. But either way, some people are wondering what's going on with Xbox. Well, Phil Spencer says that they are going to support the system. So here is what he had to say recently in an interview with Famitsu, and he said, "We are making efforts to lower the barrier to entry for people to play our games through services like Xbox Play Anywhere and Xbox Game Pass. However, if there are people who want to play our games on PlayStation 5 or the Nintendo Switch 2, we would love for them to play our games on those platforms. In that regard, we have received excellent support from both Sony Interactive Entertainment and Nintendo." So I know Kiwi Talks, who does a lot of interviews and has some inside sources, he discussed how he's spoken, or more like he knows people within Microsoft, and they essentially got their development kits a bit later than some of the other Japanese developers and people out there. That's why you're seeing some of the support come a bit later, like let's say Indiana Jones, that's coming out in 2026, or Fallout 4, that's also coming out in 2026. So the support is coming, it's just going to be a bit later. And to be honest, it seems like 2026 is when things really pick up for the Nintendo Switch 2 with third-party developers as they come to grips with the system, they get their dev kits, they kind of plan out what their plan of attack is going to be for the Switch 2. So it's going to be exciting overall, seeing what Microsoft brings to the table. Me personally, I like exclusives. You guys know this. I bought an Xbox Series X to play their games on there, and that's where, if I'm going to play their games, I'm probably going to try it out on there. I'll try out stuff just for work when it comes down to it, but anything that I'm actually interested in, if they're doing, I want to play it on my Xbox overall. But I understand they had their time, they weren't able to sell the systems, they moved their strategy. But me, I'm still an exclusives guy. I'm still a competition guy. I still want there to be exclusives when it comes down to things. But if this is what they want to do, this is what they want to do. It is what it is. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to everything that we talked about here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 and RPG content right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.